You work hard and you make money. So why does it feel like you never actually keep it? I'm Ava Carter, and this isn't about earning more. It's about understanding where your money disappears. This is Ava Carter Finance.
You ever wonder what really separates a comfortable retirement from, well, a stressful one? Today, we've got this incredible story. It's about two colleagues, and they start their investment journeys from the exact same place at the exact same time. What their story shows is that the biggest key to success, it isn't luck, it isn't being a genius, it's something quieter. All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's meet Daniel and Michael. Back in 2001, these guys were basically identical on paper. I mean, both 30 years old, working at the same company, pulling in the same $72,000 salary. And that spring, their company rolls out a brand new 401k plan. And get this, they had the exact same investment choices, the same company match, even the same deadline to sign up. It's like the stage was perfectly set for a real-world experiment.
And right here, right at the very beginning, this is where their paths just split. With one simple enrollment form, they each made a set of choices that would honestly echo for the next 20-plus years.
So first up, we have Daniel. Daniel was, the enthusiastic investor. He jumped right in, contributed 4% right away to get the full company match. Smart move, right? And he picked 3 different funds based on a tip he got from a coworker. He felt totally informed, he was active, he felt in control. He even got into the habit of checking his balance like twice a week. He was really engaged.
Then you've got Michael. And Michael, well, he took a much quieter approach. He went in a bit more aggressively, contributing 10% right from day one. And he put everything into a single low-cost target date fund. You know those, right? They're basically set it and forget it. The fund automatically adjusts its risk as you get closer to retirement. And here's the really critical part. He also automated a 1% annual increase to his contribution, and then he pretty much just forgot about it.
So the crucial point is right here in this very first decision. You've got Daniel at 4% versus Michael at 10%. Now this initial gap in savings, it might not seem like a huge deal at first, but trust me, it's the seed of a much, much larger story. This is that first concrete difference in their behavior, and compounding interest is going to either magnify it or punish it over the next 23 years. So for about 7 years, their accounts just grew. Daniel was in there making active changes, while Michael did, well, nothing. And then came the ultimate test for any investor. Doesn't matter if you're new or old, the 2008 financial crisis. This thing was a total trial by fire, and it was about to reveal everything about their different strategies. Now, this crisis didn't just happen overnight. It was more like a slow burn of anxiety that eventually turned into a wildfire of pure panic. The market was sliding through the spring and summer, but by October, man, the news was terrifying. The entire global financial system looked like it was on the brink of collapse, and retirement accounts everywhere were just bleeding value. And Daniel felt every single drop. Remember, he was the one watching his balance constantly. He saw his hard-earned $94,000 just plummet. By October, it had crashed all the way down to $52,000. He lost nearly half his account value in just a few months. Can you even imagine the fear? And that fear, it led to this one single devastating decision. On October 14th, Daniel sold everything. He just couldn't take the pain anymore, so he moved all his money into a money market fund. He essentially pulled it all out of the market into cash, just to stop the bleeding. What he really did was lock in all those losses, thinking he was protecting what was left. So, what did Michael do, as his account was falling by nearly 40% on paper? He did absolutely nothing. He didn't log in, he didn't switch his funds, he didn't even stop his contributions. He just let the system he built years ago keep running on autopilot. See, what Michael was doing without even really thinking about it is this principle called dollar cost averaging. Because his contributions were totally automated, every single paycheck was just buying more and more shares of his fund at these rock-bottom bargain bin prices. He was unknowingly pulling off a perfect buy low strategy, just by doing nothing and staying the course. So the market finally bottoms out in March of 2009, and then it starts this historic recovery. Now Daniel, he's sitting in cash for most of it, waiting for some kind of all-clear signal. But Michael's account? Oh, it was catching the full updraft of that recovery. And this, right here, is where their two paths became two completely different financial realities.
Okay, let's fast forward through all the years of recovery and growth all the way to January of 2024. The difference, the gap between their two accounts, which started at the exact same place, had grown to a staggering, get this,
$693,000. How is that even possible?
And here they are, the final results. After 23 years, Daniel, our active, engaged investor, had just $198,000, and Michael, the passive, automated investor, had over $891,000. It's an almost unbelievable difference, isn't it? But the numbers just don't lie.
So how did this massive gap even happen? It really wasn't one single thing. It was this combination of small, consistent behaviors. Daniel's strategy was driven by emotion, right? And that led him to sell at the absolute worst possible time. His active fund choices meant he was paying way higher fees. And after the crash, he was scared of the market, so he actually decreased his contributions. Michael, on the other hand, he did the exact opposite on every single one of those points.
The numbers are pretty stark, for sure, but they aren't really the lesson here. The most important takeaway from this whole 23-year story, it's about psychology, not math. It's about understanding what the biggest threat to your own long-term success really is.
So we've got to ask the question, right? Was Daniel just a bad investor? Was he just unlucky? Or, and this is the key, did his failure come from the exact thing he thought was his strength? You know, his constant involvement, his belief that he needed to do something all the time.
And that's really the heart of it. Daniel's biggest mistake wasn't picking the wrong funds, or even that his timing was bad. His real error was believing that his retirement account was this thing that would do better if he was constantly engaged with it, constantly informed, always responsive. He thought his attention was an asset, but in reality, it was a massive liability.
And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. We spend so much time and energy worrying about market crashes, about inflation, about recessions. But what this story really suggests is that for most of us, the real enemy of our financial future, it isn't out there. It's the person we see in the mirror every morning, the one who's so tempted to just react. Michael didn't win by being smarter. He won by building a system that protected him from himself. And that really raises a question for all of us, doesn't it? Is your investment strategy built to harness the market, or is it built to protect you from your own best intentions?